Alright guys, we're going to be doing another Christmas special today, so let's see what we got in the stocking today. We got a couple of deck boxes left. What deck profile will we be doing today? Let's see here. Oh, suke. I think these sleeves give it away, right? But the question is, what version of Blue Eyes White Dragon is it? Well, let's see here. I see a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and I see a Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. Enjoy the Blue Eyes Fusion deck profile today, guys. Enjoy. So guys, as you saw, today for you guys we'll be doing a deck profile of the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon deck, aka Blue Eyes Fusion deck. There's a multitude of different ways that you can play Blue Eyes White Dragon. This version is a casual, fun version of Blue Eyes. It's not the standard competitive version. It's not the Blue Eyes Chaos Max Ritual version. It's not Lure of the Red. It's not the Invoke version. This is the aka Fusion, aka going for Shining Dragon because I can, because I want to be have some fun in Yu-Gi-Oh! Shoot me. So yes, that's what this deck is. It's a fun version, not competitive, but you will have fun, you will win games against your buddies and friends, and it's a fun deck just to take to locals and just have a lot of fun with. So without further ado, let us get to the deck profile. So first off, we run our 3 standard Blue Eyes White Dragon. You gotta run it. It helps go for your fusions, helps you make level 8 exceed plays, multitude of different things, but you definitely need your 3 Blue Eyes. This is a lot more essential than a standard Blue Eyes deck because you need to use it to help go for your fusion plays. Next up, we run 1 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Now the reason we run 1 of and not more of is because in a standard version of Blue Eyes, I would say you run multiple of this card because it helps get rid of back row, floodgates, etc. In this version of the deck, it's not as necessary because it kind of clunks. You need to make space for other cards to help go for your fusion, thus it needs to be cut down from 2 of to 1 of, plus you have a lot of ways of sending dragons to grave. But he's definitely a 1 of in the deck, for any version of Blue Eyes, but in this version I like it as a 1 of. 3 alternative, this, believe it or not, I would argue, is the best deck that uses alternative. Better than standard, better than ritual, better than anything else. Blue Eyes Alternative is at its best in this deck. And you may ask yourself, why is that? One simple reason. Because in the text, it says that this card is treated as Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field. So you reveal this can be used when it's on the field as part of your fusion requirement to go into your Blue Eyes Fusion cards. For that reason, Blue Eyes Alternative is much more useful than just special summon, pop a card, go for an exceed play. It can still do that, but now you can use its additional card text that says that this is treated as Blue Eyes White Dragon to help go for your fusion plays. Next we run 3 Sage with the Eyes of Blue. You could technically get away with this as a 3 of and running it as a 2 of in this build. I will be honest with you with that. You technically could get away with doing that if you cut this down. I'm being honest with you with that. But I prefer still running it as a 3 of in the deck. It helps search for, your stones, your White Stone of the Ancients, White Stone of Legend, your Effect Veiler that you run to help negate stuff. So it helps you search out whatever you need and can help you go for your synchro plays, which is nice as well. But 3 Blue Eyes Sage with the Eyes of Blue. Also, because we do run the Dragon Revival Rhapsody, if this is on the field and you already have dragons in graveyard, you can activate this because this card, Dragon Revival Rhapsody, if you guys don't know what this is, which allows you to special summon 2 dragons from your graveyard. So because it's a spellcaster, you can just reborn 2 dragons for free. So it does have that versatility as well. Next up, we run 1 King of D, and like I said, this can help be used for multiple different reasons, but I do like him in the deck more than I do in any other version of Blue Eyes, and the reason for that is because I have technically dead spell cards in this deck. And what do I mean by that? So, say my Polymerization is dead because, you know, I just can't go for the fusion. Or say my Photon Sanctuaries are dead. And I can pitch it to search a card. Future Fusion, it's dead. Pitch it, search a card. You get what I'm saying. And the main cards I'm going to search is Dragon Revival Rhapsody that I run as a 1-of, which is a power card for the deck. Or I'm going to search for Melody of the Awakened Dragons. But most of the time I'm going to search for the Dragon Revival Rhapsody and then just automatically search it by pitching a dead card out of my hand, and then I'm going to go for a Reborn play in the deck. Because this deck, what it does is it can function as a standard Blue Eyes deck, for the most part, that has sprinklings of the fusion. Because the fusion, yes, the deck is functioned to use the fusion mechanic, but sometimes you'll be like, well, I don't need to really use the fusion mechanic because I'm going down this road now of just using Blue Eyes as a standard deck, just like you would in a standard Blue Eyes deck. You're just like, okay, go for Exceeds, go for Synchros, go for the Galaxy Eyes package instead of going for the fusion plays. Maybe because that's what your hand is doing. And for that reason, you can pitch those dead spell cards to search Reborn cards, which is nice. So, 1 King of D. Remember, he's the king, not a lord anymore. That's very important. Next, you run 3 White Stone of the Ancients. You run this card because, well, it helps bring Blue Eyes out from the field to use for different plays, as well as you can bring Spirit out on the field to banish and get rid of back rows, aka floodgates. You can also use it, like I said, to banish, bring back alternatives from your graveyard back to your hand. So you can help them use for fusion plays by special revealing a Blue Eyes Vanilla, special summoning it, then going for a poly play depending upon your hand. It's useful in a lot more versatile ways as it is in any Blue Eyes deck, but in this deck it has a little bit more versatility. We run the 1 White Stone of Legend. This is to help add Blue Eyes from your deck to your hand to use for polymerization, alternative. You know all the ways, but you can use it also by getting the Blue Eyes to your hand to make the fusion. So that's just an additional thing. The Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you here. If you want to have fun and be a freaking nerd, you go for the Blue Eyes Shining play because, you know, I go through all my resources to make a Blue Eyes Ultimate and tribute it off for Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. Yeah, just like in the movie. Cool, that's awesome. Horrible, you know, like resource loss. You're negging so hard to go for this. But the fact that you can easily go for this is just so freaking cool. But yeah, you can do that. You can tribute this off to go for this. And the other thing what you want to do though is, if, like I said, if you want to do that for fun, go right ahead. But if you want to go to be, you know, because you want to win the game, you go for Neo Blue Eyes instead of trying to go for this. Okay, you just you just take this out, replace it with an Upstart Goblin, or, you know, if you want to go with a Bingo Machine Go-Go, which we'll talk about later for this deck, you can do that. But Neo helps you win the games if you really want to be serious. You just go banish your 2 fusions, go attack, game, and that's how you win. But if you want to have some fun, you can do this. Now, this card can be searched out in the deck easily by Melody of the Awakened Dragons. So if you need to search off on it because you have too many vanillas in hand, you could be like, okay, search Shining Dragon, search Alternative, Reveal, Polymerization for Blue Eyes Ultimate, tribute it off to go for this. Because this is searchable, so it's an easy 1-of searchable card through Melody. Next up, we run 3 King of the Swamps. This is important for 2 reasons. Now, people love using Dragon's Mirror in this deck, and go right ahead if you want to, but I don't like banishing my resources. I'm just saying that. That's why I stay away from Dragon's Mirror. It doesn't help me, and it can be dead early game. King of the Swamp is a little bit more versatile in that aspect because it can help me search my polymerizations that I run in the deck. So I either can A, use it as a substitute for one of my Blue Eyes, or B, search out my polymerization because my hand's already ripe for the picking to make a fusion play. So it has a little bit more versatility, and I love it as a 3-of in the deck. Definitely a staple because it's a Rhoda for the polymerization and it's a substitute target. So that's where you run it as a 3-of. 1 effect failure because you want to negate stuff and it's searchable through Sage with the Eyes of Blue. So definitely run it. Then you got your spell cards. 3 Melody. Like I said, you have a little bit more targets in this deck than you would a standard version of Blue Eyes. Like I said, you got your Blue Eyes Shining, you got your alternative blue, and then you got your standard Blue Eyes White Dragon that you can search out. So you actually have 3 targets in this deck that you can search out with Melody of the Awakened Dragons. Plus you can pitch your White Stones of the Ancients and White Stones of Legend to graveyard to search. Simple as pie. Nothing fancy, nothing pretty. Just make the fusion or just play Blue Eyes like you normally would. Next, 3 Return of the Dragon Lords. It's staple on the deck. Reborn cards, reborn things to go for fusions, reborn things to protect. You know, go for big monsters, go for exceed plays, what have you, synchro plays. Good card, you run it. 3 trade-ins, send your big level 8s that are dead in your hand to draw cards. Simple as that. 1 card's a consonance. I like some draw power, but I will be admitted to you that if you wanted to take this out because you don't like pitching your stuff, you don't feel like you need to run this card, then just run Upstart Goblin instead. Just run Upstart Goblin instead if you feel like you don't need to run this. But 1 card's a consonance. More draw power for the deck. Double Polymerization. You may feel like 2 is too much, but you want to see it often. Like I said, if it's dead in hand, you can pitch it with King of D, and to search out one of your melodies or Reborn of the Dragon Revival Rhapsody. Next we run 2 Photon Sanctuary. This is staple in this version of the deck now. Very, very staple. However, I am very tight for extra deck space. But what you do with Photon Sanctuary is simple. You make your 2 tokens. Alright, so let's make our 2 Kaiba tokens. So I have my 2 Kaiba tokens on the field. Alright, 2 Kaiba tokens. Then I link by using 2 of them to go for Hippo Shinigami. Hippo Shinigami has 2 link arrows pointing down, which allows me to open up my zones. So now I can go for a synchro play and a fusion play, or an exceed play and a fusion play, whatever have you. However, I do not run more than 1 Hippo Shinigami. Reason being, I am very tight in the extra deck. If you want to cut something out when we get to that, go right ahead. Secondly, you can run more Photon Sanctuary if you run more Hippo Shinigami. However, deck space, as you see so far, is very tight because you have to pack in the fusion mechanic, which thus means that you got to take some things out. So this card's staple in the deck. This version, you don't run Scapegoat anymore, but you definitely need to run it because it can help things. And when Hippo Shinigami goes to the graveyard, you get to add a light monster from your graveyard back to your hand. So very good card, very versatile. Just an easy way that if you just, it's a 1 card link for a link 2. Simple as that. Next up, 1 Silver's Cry, more reborning for the deck. Dragon Shrine, Future Fusion, and Dragon Revival Rhapsody. Dragon Shrine, it's a good starter card for the deck, setting up your graveyard, setting up your hand. Just a good card to have. Future Fusion, how can I explain Future Fusion? People say it's slow, and I will agree with you on that. It is a slow card. It's not as good as it used to be. I will 100% agree with you on it. The reason I run it in the deck is I don't care about the fusion monster I'm trying to bring out. If I get a Blue Eyes, a 5-headed God Dragon on the field, great, awesome. If I don't, who cares? Because I only want my second effect, to dump a whole bunch of things to the graveyard, to dump a whole bunch of dragons and get their effects off. If I get to go for, and like I said, if I was running a standard version of Blue Eyes, I would not run this card at all whatsoever. But because this is a fusion version, and I do have, I run 5-headed God Dragon, which if you guys don't know what 5-headed God Dragon is, I mean 5-headed dragon right here. You can dump a whole bunch of your dragons to the graveyard to help go for adding cards to your hand by dumping your stones, your ancients. Like I've had times where I've got multiple Return of the Dragon Lords and Reborn cards in hand, and I have this 1 card. So I activate it, stand by, my second turn comes, send a whole bunch of dragons to graveyard, and then I just go off by getting their effects and Reborning cards now. And then I can go for very nice, cool boards. So, cool. If you get a 5-headed God Dragon, awesome. If you don't, who cares? I got a whole bunch of effects off. It's a good just one of in the deck. No more, no less. It's a little gimmicky, but I love it. Yes, it's not as good as it used to be with Master Rule 4 now, but I still like it in this version of the deck. Other versions, not so much. And then Dragon Revival Rhapsody, as we talked of before, you have a spellcaster on the field, you reborn your dragons. Simple as this. This can help bring back your fusions too after they die. Then we have Soul Charge and Monster Reborn, because more reborn cards to bring back resources that you use for fusions and just standard stuff. On to the extra deck now. We have Mr. Dragonite, because he's my favorite Pokemon, and Dragonite's awesome. 2 Kaiba tokens, like we talked of before. Then we have our Field Center. But now let's get to our fusions. 1 Neo, Ultimate Blue Eyes, Chaos... Neo Blue Eyes, Ultimate Dragon! You got this card here. This is how you win. If you're going for the fusion. If you really want to be serious and win, you go for this guy. And you just go attack, send one of my other 2 Blue Eyes fusions to the graveyard, attack again, game. That's what happens. Because you're putting so much damage on board. The Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon for your big fusion play, to go for your Shining Dragon, or just have it on the field because you want to be like a nostalgia guy. 5-headed God Dragon for your future fusion. Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. It's actually a good card. It wins me games because he helps me get around very strange boards. I will admit this. This card is really underrated the more I play this game. And I play Blue Eyes in general. I'm really liking this card more and more as time has gone on. It's grown on me. But those are your fusions. For your Exceeds, I run number 38 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy. Then you get your Galaxy Eyes package, number 107. Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon. Number 95 Dark Matter Dragon for dumping things. Your Galaxy Full Armor to pop things. And your Galaxy Eyes Cypher Blade Dragon to just pop more cards and have a big body on board. For your Synchro plays, Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, I run Dose, 2 of them. We run Dose, 2 of them. Azure Eyes Silver Dragon. The reason I don't run more cards, we'll talk about some of the other things you could run in the deck, but the reason I do this is because it helps protect my fusion in my big boards. And number 2, it helps reborn dead Blue Eyes in my graveyard to use again, hopefully for a fusion play after I link up, maybe again. You could cut one of these out for a second Hippo Shinigami, 2 of these out for more space if you wanted to. But yeah, that's what I run. And then we run the 1 Hippo Shinigami. Like I said, you can run multiple if you want to. So let me just talk about some other things you can run in the deck if you like, just to round off this video. So you could run Bingo Machine Go-Go in the deck. Now, I've tried it out, like in the Ritual build of the deck, it's great. In the standard version, it's okay. In the fusion version, it's not cutting it for me, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like, there are other cards I'd rather run. And the deck's already tight for space. This card is good, but it's not as good as it is in the other versions of Blue Eyes White Dragon. So I like it just as a one of, if none, in this version of the deck. I discussed that in a previous video on this channel. If you want to have some fun, play Legendary Dragon of White. This is a fun deck. You could run, Rose Moonlight Dragon, the synchro that bounces stuff, or Michael. If you really want to be crazy, you can actually make Dragon Master Knight in this deck because you do run King of the Swamp. You could also run your second Hippo Shinigami. Or you could also run some other level 8 Exceed monsters like 68 Snap Hold, the Sky Prison. So these are just other things you can run if you want to, but I just wanted to talk about some other cards that just did not make the cut for me. Like I said, I tried this out in the deck previously when I was deck testing for this deck. I don't like it in this version of the deck necessarily. It's nice, add a Blue Eyes to your hand, whoop-de-doo. Like, that's all it does for me. But I hope you guys all enjoyed the deck profile. I thoroughly enjoy this deck to pieces. And I hope you guys have a nice Christmas, nice holidays, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And I will see you guys later. Take care, everybody, and good luck dueling to all of you. Take care.